this Friday, this weekend. I've got an interesting company that automates your operations on the cloud and using Graph database, by the way. I've got Vasanth, the founder of Relgo. How are you, Vasanth?
I'm pretty good, Vishal.
It's good to have you, man. You've come all the way from Hyderabad to tell me about this Graph database thing. You've been around from 2007.
Right.
You did ERP applications in the past.
Right.
And now you're doing cloud-based applications, especially using Graph database.
Right.
Explain to me what a Graph database is.
Now, the Graph database actually, if you look at it like now, every process, every application traditionally is built from ground up, in the sense like the application is built as executable, the binary, and then which is kind of installable
it's a relational database
on the relational database, and then the predominant application is coded and then deployed at the customer side. The Graph database here, the application is built as Graph. So it's kind of dynamically, the Graph is stored in the database. The database is common, it's agnostic to the application. Your processes are built as Graph and then stored in the database. And then when you log in, this Graph is filled in the memory, and then that becomes your application. So now the concept is basically, now the applications are not anymore as written in the code, but the applications are prepared by the code as a Graph.
Interesting. So explain to these people in simpler terms. Most of them are entrepreneurs, CEOs. They may be technical, but they would want to know the advantages of using a Graph database. Let's say a lot of young kids today order on Swiggy. So if we say a food ordering company which is scaling across the country, there are multiple applications. There's obviously driver or logic delivery applications. There's order management systems. Several applications. So how can they use a Graph database to be extremely good at serving their customers?
So line of business applications like Swiggy, what you said, has they need to prepare, they need to have the payroll, they need to accounting, order management. So traditionally these applications are built as one big application that is deployed for the customers. So in the Graph database, each of the process, each of the application is built as elastic process. So the differentiator is, let's say you have organization directory application and then order management application. These two are the processes available. Your organization can pick and choose each of the graph, like process graph, HR graph, as well as order management graph, and then deploy for you. They merge together automatically.
And it's one single cloud.
It will be like, so you take 3-4 graphs, it becomes your ERP applications. So like one is HR graph, one is order management graph.
Understand.
So these are,
so they're all linked. I don't have to have different databases for each of them.
You don't have to, so that it's stored in one database. You pick and choose which module, they merge together in memory and then give you as a unified application. So now your developers don't have to code for business logic for each of the process.
Interesting. I mean, by doing so, by having a unified approach to this of all applications, how is it going to benefit my organization?
Yes. Actually, if you integrated automation is a fundamental requirement for any company. Every company requires HR, every company requires accounts in order management. Unless you integrate all of them together, and then CEOs or directors they don't get integrated dashboards from different operations.
Fantastic. So that in the era of information, the CEOs want on-the-fly information. And instead of pulling it out from each different database,
different applications,
you can do it on the fly in this.
Otherwise, you have to go into one application for HR, other application for CRM, other application for order management. Instead, they pick and choose which process. It will merge into a single dashboard, and then CEO can on the fly can operate from his mobile across the 360 degrees of operations. But another biggest advantage is earlier integrated automation is there available from big companies, SAP, Microsoft Dynamics or Oracle, etc., and Ramco ERPs. Those are monolithic ERPs, and then any normal company to have that expertise and use those applications was kind of out of reach, I would say. So the small companies, let's say 2-3 people, which are non-technical people, they cannot get integrated automation, but they still need HR, they still need accounting.
So they buy individual licenses. Becomes very expensive for them.
It's it's not about the expense of the application. It's basically onboarding was a bottleneck for them. Getting them their processes into automated environment is the biggest bottleneck for any company. So any ERP implementation takes months or years together. Here, small business, if they need to automate, we need to reduce that years or months time to weeks, or less than a month, days. So unless, let's say it's a 4 people company, you can't expect to them to automate for 6 months.
Let me get into a 4 people company. You have a lot of these lathe shops who supply to automobile companies. And they usually have an order management system linked to the automobile company. Correct? And maybe they have a payroll. Right? They have some form of accounting. So you're saying all these 3 applications can now merge together as one single ERP on your graph database.
On the graph database. And then any sized company can use it. So it's like 1-person company, 2-person company, or bigger, huge company which they can fill the automation gaps.
And it's only 500 rupees per person?
Per user per month.
Per month.
Yes, the license cost. So a small company, let's say 4-user company would 2,000 rupees or 2,500 rupees, they'll have entire integrated automation for their operations. They can manage their payroll, they can manage their customers, they can
Interesting. So the founder of that company can now do sales.
You
can get all the reports on the mobile.
Yes. Actually, this gives time. What I would say, like customers get more time with Relgo Automation. In the sense, like it gives more time to the founder or to focus on their core expertise, their core skill set,
which is selling,
or building the core capability, the product for themselves. So operational enablement of reaching out to globally and then scaling up inorganically is automatically provided by Relgo.
This is a beautiful product, But guys, if you've just joined us, this product, right? I mean, the graph database product was, it had something to do with how you saw the 2004 tsunami. You wanted people to find you. You wanted to find people who were lost at that time. That's how the graph database came about. How did it happen?
No, actually, the interesting fact is like all we wanted is to connect the missing children to their relatives, where relatives there were. So the way to do that is either they have existing Facebook and all, they have FOF network, friend of friend network kind of a thing. So we came up this like relationship framework, where the definitions of relationships are underneath for each relationship. So when we connect with the relationship definitions, then it became like a lot easier to infer the people. Let's say uncle can be inferred from the relationship.
Okay, so there's infinite data, you were saying.
Yes.
And how do you establish the relationships on a graph database?
Yeah, the one actually, any organization like if let's say, so fundamentally once you build the relationship graph for the organization using a tool set what we have, but so the relationships are in the organization defined.
Correct.
Manager, direct
reports,
or vendor. So these relationships are different for each domain. Let's say schools will have teachers, schools, and the different people, and then manufacturing. So you define those relationships using the tool set, and then it becomes a graph, application graph. And then when you collect the operational data, which is kind of a continuous data from different IoT devices, from different people, somebody entering it, this is kind of infinite data. You overimpose that infinite data into this graph, the people graphs or operations graph. So now your data is organized for that operations. So that is how, like, if you put that in the sales operations, you will get sales dashboard.
So even my developer resources free up.
Right.
I don't have to make them go through an entire columnar database.
Right.
And then come back with a query.
Correct.
Query.
So yes.
Right. This happens on the fly. Is there a lot of machine learning, AI involved here?
Yeah. Actually, so there are 3 layers in it. Okay. One's like there is a runtime that there is actually design time which builds the graph applications, which is kind of a captures entire organization relationships, and then builds the application graph. And then there is underneath an runtime engine which interprets that graph to present you the dashboards and then user screens. So
it's dynamically
learning that process and then presenting it to you with the flow.
Okay. So why aren't you saying it's a machine learning or a AI algorithm?
Actually, yeah, I would. There are two things. Two things in it. Actually, in machine learning, there is one concept where you define and then machine learning.
Correct.
That is one, but we call it as machine learning. So one of the concept of machine learning, and then other part is some of the part like predictive scheduling, this kind of thing. So machine learning and then AI is inbuilt into this graph for inferencing engine. So it's a fundamentally and is part of the machine learning. It's machine learning into the graph.
So you're saying these subjects like graph database, they're not yet popular in our country. Most of them are used to CRM applications, ERP service providers like Zoho, Freshdesk, Freshworks now. So how different are you from them?
Actually, I would say like traditionally when the applications were built from 70s, when SAP or different companies built their applications, they built each of the module as a monolithic application. So I would say like Freshworks, and then Zoho also built their own database for each application, and then they built user experience on it, and then giving you a SaaS application which is multi-tenant and scalable for that application alone. Let's say.
So can I ask you a question? Now say I have signed up with Zoho.
Right.
But I'm expanding my organization.
Right.
And I want to simulate my applications.
Right.
All my Zoho applications.
Right.
I can do it on the Relgo Cloud.
Yes.
I can.
Yes. Actually,
and then I can port that into any cloud. I can deploy it into any cloud.
You can deploy into.
So you're saying regardless of wherever the application originated.
Right.
I can still come and automate it in your place.
Automation Studio,
right? Where the graph database will apply its technology. And you'll ensure that I can deploy it in any resource possible.
Right.
Is that what you do?
Yeah. I'll tell you how that works. So let's say you have some CRM application is running Zoho, and then some other HR application running Grey HR or Keka, something like that. And then you wanted to automate all of them together. You come to Automation Studio. And then same logic, you pick and choose the processes, scenarios, and then using our tool set in Automation Studio, and then it builds the snapshot of the operations in the Automation Studio. You test your scenarios, user scenarios with the data, and then same application you will get into integrated mode. Both HR and together you will have one platform, and then deploy into Operations Cloud, either the public cloud, or you can also deploy into any of the Docker or AWS or wherever you work. On-prem, you want Operations Cloud. Currently, we provide a public cloud environment for any of the small business customers that come in. We directly deploy from Automation Studio to Operations Cloud, and then it will enable user licenses to the end user.
Okay, so and startups can work with you here?
Yes, and a lot of startups works with us, and then we kind of we have a model. We have a clear model how to take them from ground zero to operationalize each role in the company. So our operational model actually, once the order comes in, also we have a configurable price quote mechanism on the web itself, where you can pick and choose. I need order management, I need payroll management, like that, and then that comes as order in our application environment, and then from there, and then once the order is approved, it goes for the delivery, where we have a process analysis phase. We have built-in consultants to do the process analysis for you, or we also have self-service automation where experts in the company or functional consultants or directors they understand the user roles. So it's a simple enough that little bit of knowledge worker in the company will be able to package their operations together. What we call it as an app space. Let's say you have HR department, you prepare the app spaces for HR department, and you prepare order management app space. So you prepare enterprise processes as app spaces, and then keep it into process.io, which is a tool in Automation Studio, and then that app space now is a snapshot of your running operations.
Nice.
You may
so
have
that's the simulation. It's a snapshot to understand that, okay, this is what you do. This is I got that.
So each role scenarios, all of them are in that snapshot. Then you give that snapshot for the automation.
Nice.
So automation in the sense that scenarios are pre-automated. That intelligence is available.
I mean, if I use Relgo, should I reduce the number of developers I hire?
Yeah, actually the development kind of model that like you let's say it's now there are two. One is like if you are end user or enterprise, and then there is a solution developer, and then a technology provider. So solution developers, now you can do a much bigger application, lot easier. You don't say, let's say that we have the process intelligence of over 100 plus processes in the cloud. Let's say you needed small scheduling of resources or facilities you have. So that process is available. You just pick and choose that process, and then it will be available for you. And you want to expand into ticket booking, slot booking. You can write that code for that small slot booking, and then
available.
And then immediately
it's all part of that 500 rupee package.
Actually, there are end user license is 500 rupees, and then we also call automation licenses and developer licenses. That is in the development cloud. Sorry, if you are building an application, so there is a building operations snapshot process.io. We provide them in the development cloud, with a automation license to them.
Done. So I will tell these startups, if you guys are watching, you check out Relgo. There's something called process.io, automate.io, there's elasticapp.io, which is your app store, there's deploy.io, there's story.io.
Right.
Basically, I think this is like a DevOps plus for me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Would you agree?
Development and DevOps, all of them put together one tool set.
It's amazing. So, I think you should use that in your communication strategy. You're a DevOps plus company. Why did you come back from the USA and do this?
Yeah.
You could have stayed there and made a lot of money.
I understand. Actually,
why did you come back?
There are two basically before this, actually I was in Microsoft for 9.5 years and 10 nearly. I was before that I was in Honeywell as well.
Yes.
And then I did from metal to cloud, all different type of applications, cloud, hardware, yes. And then once the reason to move out is something that it's not personal. It's kind of basically when something bites you. That's kind of this kind of a methodology. Okay, the fundamental thing is the companies are not able to compete with the bigger companies, or maybe a little bit automated companies. So, for example,
so you wanted to help the smaller companies.
Everybody there should be a level playing field for any of the companies to smoothen their operations, scale up, because they have core competency in their domain. Let's say manufacturing company or fabrication company. If they want to take a bigger fabrication unit, they can't retabulate. They can't.
It's true. You're like an evangelist in a way, because not more than an evangelist, you're an advocate, because you're right. Most of the SMEs out there, they're sold multiple applications. Right. They're all separate. They're not merged, or the data between the three is not captured between 3 or 4 applications, right? So which you enable them to do, and it gives you a level playing field.
And then it relieves a lot of burden of the data aggregation and analysis, and then that will give them to take a bigger project.
You should be selling this idea to CEOs.
Yeah, definitely. Right? I think CEOs have to closely take a look at it, how much it saves them, and then enables them to grow to the next stage. And then continuous growth is something that every CEO will have. And then this platform gives you continuous automation of their operations, where today they may be small, tomorrow they can expand another thing. Then this is actually, they have running snapshot. You can keep expanding the operations and then automate them. So that is where the power of this graph platform and then elastic processes gives them.
I want to ask you, won't the application guys object to it, because all of them are on different databases? Right. And if I now move it to yours as a merged database for all applications, and tomorrow if I'm renewing my license for a Zoho or a Freshworks or anybody, even Oracle, will they have a problem with it?
Once they move your application into this application, so they don't see they won't need to use other, because the dashboards are in the new automated application. So fundamentally they are moving the processes. They are not moving the application. They are moving the processes.
So their application of Zoho would still get to know what's happening with each company. But I'm just moving the processes to your
processes into the fundamentally they are re-automating entire business processes here. Actually, if you look at the thing is, technology kind of came into a number of generations, but processes never changed. Payroll process never changed.
It remained the same.
Accounting remained the same, but we keep upgrading our hardware.
Correct.
So now I think about automate those processes, and then this year processes are automatically available in latest and greatest all the time.
Look forward to it. I hope a lot of startups watching this sign up with you. Where can they contact you?
They can actually, we are in Hyderabad.
No, I know, but what's your email?
Yeah, my email is vasanth.ravula@relgo.com, and then
Vasanth.ravula @relgo.com.
Yeah.
So guys, write to him there. Understand the application. It is really going to change the way you look at multi-application resources or centers, and it enables you to scale up if you're a smaller company.
And then the devices also. Another thing is IoT device. You can provision the devices directly from Relgo Automation Studio, and then configure all the devices, and then automatically we have IoT variables built into Relgo apps to build the application, so you can directly program your applications to take the data from particular sensor and then aggregate there itself. So,
nice.
This
I hope it works out for you. I mean, we're running out of time, but I must tell you that, guys, check out the graph database. But before we end the show, I really want to know what inspired you.
Yeah. Actually,
Vasanth?
yeah.
I mean, you like Harry Potter, you said. You can't escape. Why do you want to tell me why did you get Harry Potter into your company?
No.
Literally, you did.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Actually, when we started the company, basically we founders, actually we were initially in US we were 3 founders, and then once I moved to US, we just started that time, and then I moved to India. So when we first met, it was kind of Harry Potter day, or during that period. So we all 3 went to first Harry Potter, and then we grew together. And then the second version we came to Hyderabad, and then we went to Harry Potter movie again. It was kind of basically.
Nice. So you grew with Harry Potter.
We grew with that. Our milestones were Harry Potter milestones.
Nice.
So
Have you read the books?
No, I read all the books. And then my children, I have 2 sons, both of them.
You read all of them. You read those books with your sons or alone?
Yeah, some of them with my sons, but many of them alone.
See, there's light in everything, right? You can be a great computer scientist, but you can also read Harry Potter.
Yeah,
right, that's true.
Definitely.
Correct.
I'm kind of passionate on different these things. I kind of get excited the intensity that stories give.
I know, that's why you've got story.io. So guys, they have multiple applications that you have to check out, but they can automate your operations, yes, with a graph database on their cloud. So check them out. Vasanth, it's vasanth.ravula@relgo.com.
Sales@relgo.com.
Or sales@relgo.com. Okay. Thanks guys, you've been wonderful, and hope people come to you.
Yeah,
thank you very much, and you're a lovely person.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye guys. Bye. Thank you. This is nice.